Look at verse 26. We're still talking about not focusing on the table pomena, but focus on the table pomena, because you are hora odia oratos, because you're able to see the invisible one. It becomes easy to be able to focus on the things not seen, table pomena, and not focus on the things seen, the table pomena, things having to do with the body. But look at Moses. We already went over this verse in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 26. So he surrendered the things seen. He abandoned the things seen. He did not grasp onto them. Now, I'm here to remind you that if you have something going for you, if you have a great inheritance, if you have a great job position, if you have a great social status with your people, do not abandon anything until God says so. Don't you go get ahead of yourself and try to take action and say, I'm going to stop talking to these people because it is not part of the plan of God. I'm going to abandon these things because they are not part of the plan of God. I'm going to abandon my music career because it's not part of it. And artists do this all the time. And they become Christians and they abandon everything as if abandoning everything is going to, I don't know, make them better Christians. Yes, undoubtedly and admittedly, there are some things that you have to abandon immediately in order for you to advance rapidly. But these artists, they just leave everything, thinking that they're going to become great Christians, but they at the end they don't, because they do not focus on the Word of God. They're not inside the divine powers here. They don't use 1 John 1:9. They don't learn Bible doctrine. So they abandon everything just to become legalistic Christians. And there they are lifting their hands and saying, oh, gloria a Dios, Dios this, Dios that, Dios this, and just making a fool out of themselves. And obviously would make God look bad. But then, again, we've all made God look bad. Well, principle, don't abandon anything before God, before time. Only wait on God. Wait on God. He has the right timing, the right decisions. Well, Moses, he waited on God. At first, he tried to not to wait on God. He tried to do things in his own effort, his own timing, his own strength, even though he had a personal sense of destiny. He assumed everyone else, all the Israelites, had a personal sense of destiny just as he did. Principle, sometimes because we think a certain way, we think that other people think that same certain way. And that is untrue. Just because you have the same virtue because of the Word of God inside of your soul doesn't mean that other people have the same virtue. Just because you have the personal sense of destiny inside of you doesn't mean that other people have that same personal sense of destiny. Wait on God. He has the perfect timing. Well, Moses, where was I getting at? He regarded greater the disgrace, the insults of Christ, sufferings for Christ, o neidismon tu Christon. What did he do? Look, ape blepen. Do you see this word? The cognate here, blepo. This preposition, this compound verb, ape blepen, means to turn away from looking at something and look at something else. He turned away from looking at the things, the treasures of Egypt that he had waiting for him, all those wonderful things, wonderful pleasures, wonderful approbations, that wonderful title. He turned away from them and turned on to something else. For this word apeblepen means that you turn from something, from looking at something, and you look at something else. Here, Moses stopped looking at the table pomena and focused on something else, the table pomena, because he was able to see the invisible one. Here, what do we have? So God ace then mistapodosian. He was able to focus on to what? The recompenses. The phase 3 were words. So he turned away from the treasures of this earth and he turned towards the mistapodosian. There were words of phase 3. Now do you get the idea? Now do you get how you have to turn away from the things seen and you look at the things unseen? And how is it possible? By being able to see the invisible one. Hora odia oratos. Because here, what do we see right here? Verse 27, by means of doctrine. And by means of this doctrine means he had a personal sense of destiny, for they are connected together. You cannot separate them. You cannot have a personal sense of destiny without having a significant amount of doctrine inside of your soul. That significant amount of doctrine inside of your soul will form a personal sense of destiny and will boost you up to the advanced problem-solving devices. Personal sense of destiny is the beginning of it. Well, by means of doctrine, he did not fear. And what is it? Verse 27. He left Egypt not fearing the king's anger. He persevered. persevered? Because he saw him who is invisible. He saw him, horao, who is invisible, auratos. So, by being able to see the one who is invisible, you can easily apoblepo. You can easily apoblepo. This action of not focusing on the things seen and being able to focus on the things not seen falls into a verb, apoblepo. You turn away from the things seen to focus on the things not seen. How do you do that? By being able to see the one who is invisible. Personal sense of destiny. And now, before we start with our analysis of chapter 5, verse 1, we're going to go over the doctrine of the personal sense of destiny. We hope, or we expect right now, that we're going to finish it. So the doctrine of the personal sense of destiny. Ready? Point 1. A personal sense of destiny is problem-solving device number 6 of the doctrinal fortification that protects the soul. That doctrinal fortification is the flat line. Remember, that is that line that protects your soul from outside pressures of adversity and prosperity. It protects you from temptation. It is the transitional problem-solving device between spiritual infancy and spiritual maturity. Point 2. The personal sense of destiny is the greatest sponsor of the change from human viewpoint to divine viewpoint in the life of the believer. If you wonder, if you're still not there, and you wonder, oh my gosh, it's so difficult to have a divine viewpoint. I'm constantly here thinking about human viewpoint. But once you have a personal sense of destiny, this is the great thruster. It really gets to you to finally being able to see the whole picture, or a significant amount of the picture with regards to divine viewpoint, to the point that it overruns your human viewpoint. It squeezes it out, if that's the right word to use. And so it's a great sponsor of change from human viewpoint to divine viewpoint. How? Apoblepo. You stop focusing on tablepomena in terms of human viewpoint, and you start focusing on the tameblepomena, divine viewpoint. Apoblepo. Turn away from looking at something and you turn on to look at something else. How do you do that? By being able to see the invisible one. You see, once you're all the way over here, able to see way beyond that invisible one, being able to see the not seen things, it becomes much, much easier. Okay. In case you wanted to see the verse where it talks about the divine viewpoint versus human viewpoint, you can turn to Isaiah 55, verses 8 to 9. Point 3. A personal sense of destiny cannot be formed unless problem-solving device number 5 is formed first. What am I saying? You cannot form a personal sense of destiny without Bible doctrine inside of your soul. And if you think that somehow God is just going to inject information inside of you and you're going to have an automatic personal sense of destiny, a la Hebrews chapter 11, you're wrong. You're completely wrong. You're deceived. You are deluded. God has devised a system. He has designed a system for us to be able to learn the Word of God on a daily basis. Our volition is the issue, and we have to make daily volitional decisions for the plan of God. Those daily volitional decisions is to use 1 John 1:9 and to learn under the authority of a right pastor teacher. There is no sense of destiny without a significant amount of doctrine in the believer's soul. Point 4. A personal sense of destiny is self-orientation to the plan of God. In short, it is the application of advanced doctrines in advanced circumstances. Those advanced circumstances are going to require you to have an advanced problem-solving devices, advanced doctrines. In other words, you're not going to be able to get by or pass those advanced tests with those minor problem-solving devices, minor doctrines. You need advanced ones. Point 5. A personal sense of destiny is related to eschatological doctrines. I always have a hard problem. Eschatological, there we are. Eschatological doctrines. 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 to 14. You remember that verse? 2 Peter chapter 10, verse 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 to 14. Yes. And what is the key words? So it's talking about the destruction of the universe. There's going to be the building of a new heaven and a new earth. Verse 11 says everything will be destroyed in this way. What kind of people ought to be, and you're dedicated to God lives, even the spiritual life? Question mark. This is where the question ends, not right here in the middle of the verse. So what kind of people ought you to be, and you are dedicated to lives, dedicated to God lives, even the spiritual life? Looking forward, verse 12. This is a key word for a personal sense of destiny. Confident anticipation, looking forward. Prosdokeo. And what is this? Self-motivated, hurrying, hastening. Yes, in terms of being motivated to advance in the spiritual life, with respect to becoming of the day of God. So in other words, as you look forward to the new universe, the new heavens, where righteousness is going to dwell, you are motivated and you look forward to it. Personal sense of destiny stimulates that motivation to keep advancing in the spiritual life, making correct decisions for the divine power sphere. Verse 13. But in keeping with this promise, we are looking forward to a new heaven and new earth where righteousness dwells. This is capacity righteousness. Everyone's going to have that capacity righteousness. If you suffered many things on this earth, if you grew up just being aware, just knowing nothing but suffering, and you wonder what's up with this world, why does God allow this? If you're one of those, well, keep advancing in the Word of God. You're going to understand, first of all, His plan, but then you're also going to understand something. Eternity, the future, is the place where perfect righteousness dwells. El Padre Nuestro, the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, that's prayer. And that prayer is not for now. What does that prayer say? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. His will is not being done on earth here as it is in heaven right now. Look around in the earth, go around and see the war between Russia and Ukraine. Go around, look and see the conflict right now that's beginning between Cambodia and Thailand. Look at Iran, who's just seething, waiting to destroy the Israelites, the Jews. Look at Gaza. Look how just rabid they are to destroy the Jews. They cannot even enjoy a few resources that are given to them because they're just focused on the Jews. Everything's just crap in this world. So His will is not being done on earth as it is in heaven. Let me tell you that right now. So that prayer, El Padre Nuestro, is not for now. So do not be praying that prayer right now. That is a prayer for the Jews who are waiting for the millennium. For when the millennium occurs, that is the only place, the only time that the will of God is going to be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, but also when the new earth is created, that's where righteousness in everyone. That's when righteousness is going to dwell. Let this build your personal sense of destiny. Talk about a personal sense of destiny. And so, verse 14, therefore, beloved ones, we are in union with the one who is beloved, therefore we are also beloved. Like anticipating confidently these things, we are self-motivated, or become. If this is a mandate, this is an imperative. Spudasate. Be self-motivated. Be diligent, make every effort. Yes, that's correct, but be self-motivated to be found. Euretenai, from Eureka, to be found by Him. Auto, dative. What is it? Spotless, blameless, momento, and without blame, without shame. For those in the judgment seat of Christ are going to experience shame because they did not advance in the plan of God. But you, make sure you advance. Become self-motivated. Let that personal sense of destiny that anticipates this, the new heaven and the new earth, let that make you become self-motivated to be found spotless, without shame at the judgment seat of Christ.